Welcome to the All Our Problems podcast with Rachel. I'm your host, and my husband, Griffin.
I'm a Griffin, the husband.
And we are co-owners of Arnold's Candies, an Arnold's Candies sponsored podcast. And our special guest today is Nicole Cecere.
Hello, I'm Rachel's other brain cell, also known Nico.
We do call her Nico, so you can go by Nico.
Yeah, might as well. Everybody else calls me Nico now.
From here on out.
Yeah.
I hereby demand you to be called Nico.
I'll get the crown.
All right, Nico. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
What's your problem?
Well, do we have the time?
Yeah. I mean, we do actually.
I don't think the husband will be very happy that we're chilling here for
No, I deal with you guys enough. Enough here.
Oh, yeah. For those who don't know, I also work with Rachel and Griffin as the director of operations.
Nicole is our director of operations at Arnold's Candies. So she's with us every day.
24/7.
Almost 24/7.
Basically.
Pretty close. I mean, early in the morning till about midday. And then sometimes at night we hang out because we're also friends. So what's your feelings about Arnold? Like, I'm curious as like a outsider looking in. I mean, we own it, so blood, sweat, and tears for us no matter what. But why do you choose Arnold's as your place of employment?
Well, you might cry.
Don't.
Well, you want the honest answer because you asked, and I was like, screw it. Honestly, like, it sounds like fun working with your best friends, and I just had faith. I said, I'm jumping in this puddle with them.
Yeah. We were dreamers, and you came on ready to dream with us.
Absolutely.
I mean, you came on after we had actually officially bought it for how many months?
2 months.
Couple months.
Yeah,
a couple months.
Yeah.
So you could really be a legacy employee.
Oh, I'm planning on it.
She's like, I'm riding this ship out.
Oh,
like,
hell yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
am I allowed to curse on this? Okay.
it's basically how we are all the time, but recorded. So.
Oh, bet. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So, what's your perspective though? I mean, do you like it? What's it like coming from like a really professional, strict setting to coming and working with your best friends? I mean, day-to-day life difference.
Depending on how professional you want to look at it, coming to where you guys are, it's pretty similar, except for I don't hate the owners as much as my previous job. So it's definitely
can we post
Well,
that?
I feel like that's in the right direction.
That's
exciting for me to hear for sure that you don't hate your job.
And honestly, it was just an upward motion too. I've been doing production and all of that for almost 10 years now.
Can I just say thank God you are, because I mean, I think you were just the right hire at the right time for you to be able to get introduced into the company and learn the products and learn the customers and like how we do things, to then hit when we're like growing like we are. Like, what a valuable time to come in, because you're learning while we're learning also, but you bring a lot of like experience, a lot of good ideas, and it's also one of those things where like you're kind of like our third input, where it's like, sometimes we're not meeting on the right level together.
No,
and
I think it's just good to have that accountability. Like, a lot of times where we ask you a question, you'll just be like,
you'll be honest. That's what you need.
Well, either you're right or you're wrong, and here's why.
Yeah.
And you're not afraid to have that conversation with either one of us. When we're like, hey, here's what I'm thinking. You're like, I agree, or I see where he's coming from, but I do think this is potentially the better path for this situation.
Yeah.
So.
And honestly, I think it helps that we're just that close.
Yeah.
Also, it's just a lot easier to have those like
being good friends.
Absolutely.
It goes a long way. I think
you're
it's
not
like so valuable.
For like speaking my mind.
Oh yeah. Because I think that's like so important, is like having somebody who will just tell you the truth. Because really, like, I run into that all the time. You see it every single day. He gets it all the time. Yeah. When you have employees come in, I mean, you're the boss. So it's like they look at you differently, and I can't really connect with them all the time. And, you know, I want to connect with my employees, but they just see me differently. There's nothing we can do about that. So you're like that really nice middle ground. You get to be close with everybody. And
even as bosses, we do have a lot of open door policy. Anybody can always have that conversation and have that genuine conversation of here's where I'm at, or here's what here's what I feel and stuff like that. That's where we want to keep it, because I think that's, if people are unhappy, you want to know about it. You want them to feel comfortable to tell you what it is and why.
I think that's huge, truthfully, because I mean, coming from corporate, like,
that was a big thing for you. For your last job. I know that like a lot of it was like, you know, employees want to feel heard. Employees want to feel like they matter. They're not just a pawn, and like your employees are what make your product, whether you're service based or if you're making candy like we are, or whatever it is you're doing. Your employees are the ones keeping that wheel turning. Yeah. So I always want to hear, and you have to be a good employer in the sense of like, when somebody comes to you, you have to listen to them. And sometimes you got to put your ego aside and say, I mean, how many times have you come in to the office, Griffin and I are looking at each other like just an absolute standoff on a decision. And we look at you like, take my side.
And I'm like, hello.
Yeah. You're like, what if we did actually plan C?
The complete opposite of whatever you guys are talking about.
Completely opposite direction, or a really solid compromise. Yeah. Like that's one thing that's great, is like you're comfortable enough with the both of us to just be honest with us. And you'll call me up and be like, Griffin was right. He had way better of an idea than us. So we're going to go with what Griffin said.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys never tell me to my face.
Nope.
Those phone calls do happen, though. They do happen.
We're telling you right now.
Yeah.
So this is the time. This is the time that I learned that I have been right in my life. This is great.
Just soak it in. And truthfully, my parents, and like if anybody's ever scared of getting into business with their best friends, like just do it, honestly.
Oh my gosh, it's so much fun.
They're like, are you sure? Like, I'm like, positive. Like I wouldn't do it with anybody else, truthfully. Might do it with Matt, my fiance, at one point, but we'll get there.
You should. Yeah. I think getting into business like with your partner, I don't know how many times we've heard it. People are like, don't ever get into business with your partner.
And I think it's,
or don't do business with your husband.
No, there's days. There's definitely days.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's,
you know, she's there for those days.
I'm like, well, shit, I gotta call the coroner. Like,
I mean, but there's like definitely days where like it's great. And there's days where it's really, really hard. But then also you have to be able to have those checks and balances in place where when you go home, it's not just gonna bleed into that. Gosh, and I think we try to do our best of like, all right, I'm going to go do something else after work for a little bit.
Yeah.
I will see you a little later, just because I think we just need a little bit of space.
Yep.
Just so this doesn't bleed into more or an all day thing. Like we had a nice, tense half-hour conversation.
And sometimes
we'll go from there.
That's necessary. I mean, if you think that is like something that is like a weakness, I think it's such a strength, because we can be so straightforward and honest and really get to the point, and you have to have really good communication. So to have somebody that can be a third party that is a vested interest in our us both, you know, I mean, like you being such a good friend to us, Matt, your fiance being such a good friend to Griffin, you know, like you really do care about us. You're not just there just for your own personal gain. I mean, it's so nice, like being able to really debate in like a healthy way, and like have people who are willing to be honest with you. It's so hard to find people who will just be straight up, and no better person than like your partner in life, no better person than your best friend. Like I think that's such an important tool for me, especially like you guys know I'm always looking at you guys for reassurance, especially in this period of my life. So I'm just like, am I doing this right? Is it me?
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
We're the ones in the back who are like, we look at each other like,
no, we'll steer her in the other direction. We'll just let her have this moment.
Yeah.
She's doing great.
Yeah. You guys will always cheer me on. But I mean, sometimes you guys will be like my voice of reason, where like I am stubborn sometimes. And the two of you really can kind of chip away, I think.
I think all three of us are stubborn in our own respect, which makes it a lot more fun, because the three of us are just like,
yeah. When we have our like rough days, we're having like rough days, because like when stuff goes wrong, when it rains, it pours at Arnold's Candies. Let me tell you. And when it rains, it pours. I mean, almost every Monday. We don't want to talk about it.
Feel like there's months of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's just like once a week. Like we went to like what? A month and a half. Every Monday we lose power by 9:30 and just out of our door. Like, yeah, well,
you're like, well,
what do we do here?
Yeah.
And then we go the next Monday. Hopefully it doesn't happen today. 9:30 rolls around, power shuts off. We should probably call the city.
Yeah, probably.
We need to call somebody.
I think this might be a electric company problem.
Yeah, at first we're like, it's just our grid, and then we're like, you know what? It's the entire street every time. So it's no longer just like once you're like, that's a freak accident. Twice you're like, that's starting to become a little concerning.
Let's make sure that they're doing service.
And then like the third time we're like,
why?
Yeah.
Why? Peachy King. I just want to make candy. I just want to make it.
Seriously. I mean, when you're losing that time though, it's huge. And like, that's one thing that really stresses me out is like, you guys know my mind's always on production, how many batches we're getting done, how many we're missing, how fast can we get them out to the buyers? I mean, I'm answering to the buyers, and you're kind of starting to get into that world too, where like they want their candy yesterday. And so like for me, it's super valuable having somebody who can manage that. And when we went to Vegas and you were there and you told me about everything that was going on while we were gone, and I was like, you did everything in the exact way I would have handled it. And like, that's another strength of just like knowing each other so well is like, there's going to be days where I know there's gotta be days where you're like, if she asks me to change subject or change task one more time or something, you're like, yeah, she's gonna get me. She's gonna drive me crazy. And like, I try to be accountable when I know I'm doing it to you. And like, I'm sure there's days you go home and you're just like, I can't do it.
Those are the days that I come over and I hang out till like 10 p.m.
Yeah, we're watching some reality TV, reminding ourselves, okay, life ain't that bad, you know? We're doing okay. We'll do okay.
Just out here having fun, you know. I would like also to point out, I called my father when you guys were in Vegas. I'm like, this is what happened. This is what I did, because he is also an operations manager. I'm like,
I would not have known that. I would not have known that. That's
well,
so
I made
funny.
all the decisions, and then I'm going home.
Reassurance, man.
Yeah, I was like,
Reassurance.
Dad, I need you to reassure me right now. I'm making all the right decisions.
Right. There's some times where you just have to give up on the day, though. I mean, like, you're far enough in the day, you've gotten enough batches done, your production is down, and like, if everything could go wrong, it's going wrong. I mean, we've had some days like that this year.
Just, some days you just gotta be like,
know when to pull the plug. What do we call it? And also, wave the white flag, you know.
But also, you got to be at the point of like how we push ourselves to the highest quality, highest standards every single batch, every single time.
Yeah.
If it's not exactly how we want it, it's sometimes it's. I mean, there's been days before, especially in slow time, where it's like we're not on a time crunch, and the first 4 or 5 batches are like, I mean, everything is wrong. I'm like, you know what? Here's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna stop doing this. We're gonna go do something else that we can get done today.
Yeah.
And we'll come back to this tomorrow, because we're doing everything right, and I don't understand why this is happening. And it's just simply just one thing that you're starting to get frustrated and you're just overlooking.
Yeah. It's important to be able to like move past that. It's important to be able to like
if I worry about everything that's gone wrong, we're never going to get anything done.
Yeah, seriously.
Like, we have to just be like, oh, it's happened. We react when it happens, and then we go from there.
Yeah. And for me too, like, I think part of it is like, you know, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves for like the fact that we want to be the best at what we do. And if you're not out there trying to be the best at what you're doing, then like, what are you doing? Because I mean, if you're going into business at all, especially in our world, it's like a dog eat dog world in the manufacturing world. Cheapest prices, like, you know, fastest turnaround, stuff like that. So for us, like maintaining a great quality product, we put so much pressure on ourselves for that. And I know sometimes that will trickle down into our employees. So we're all three trying to get better at that, about like, you know, they see us as an example, and like that work and effort and dedication really goes a long way. But, you know, then you have people who are caring about your business in a way that's more than just an employee. You know, they see you, they're rooting us on, you know, they love for us to win, and you know, if we win, they win. So having a great staff who's there for it, so valuable.
I think you definitely hit it. It's like when we win, or when they win, we win, we win, they win. Like, that's the biggest thing when you go into it. If you're, especially manufacturing a product, like, we'll make the best product because we're selling it to you, and we want you to be able to be successful, because it's going to, in turn, help us then continue to grow. You continue to grow. And especially with our employees, of like, of where, hey, we want you guys to grow here, because as you grow and, things get easier for you, you're winning, we're winning, because we have long-term employees. We don't got to train other people. We don't have to have the headaches of getting people who come in and, like, especially in our business where it's such a niche learned thing that it takes time and patience and effort and the will and want to do it. If you're not doing those things and you don't care, it's going to be a hard thing to do, and you just got to buy people who are going to buy into that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Our like industry definitely isn't I'm just going to show up for a paycheck.
Yeah, it's not. You have to love it. You have to really love it. I mean, to own it, you have to love it. To work there, you have to love it, because I mean, I'm not the only person in there fixing stuff. Like, we're all looking at stuff sometimes. You guys are calling me, I'm at home, and you're like, so the fire mixer's not working. And I'm like,
it's broken.
Yeah, at this point, you guys, your guess is as good as mine. So we all just stand around looking at it. I mean, there's days like that. And I think, like, when your employees see how much, like, you care for us and we care for them and, like, all that stuff, it trickles down, and they have a new care about their job, and creating that environment is really, really, like, an important thing, because at the end of the day, like, if we can succeed and we can take these people who have supported us from when we, first bought it, or, these legacy employees for us, we want to take good care of them, because, who better to, like, understand what decisions to make on your behalf than people who have known you for years. I mean, that's why you are so skilled at your current job, is because you know me so well personally, you know him so well personally. If you have to speak on our behalf, you're pretty confident in your choice you're making.
And our employees, all of our employees that are there, at least somewhere in there, have been there for a while, so they understand, like, here's a decision that they would make. And, like, okay, I'm going to make this decision, and they might run through you, or they might, call us or text or something like that. But they're like, we give them the ability of, like, it's okay to make the mistake, but if something's really wrong and you need like, I don't know what to do, call me. But if you're like, here's what I did, and it kept things going, and it had, this is why I did it, I'm happy just you made that decision, because you the decision I would be making, because we've had time to, here's why I made that decision, and explain that decision of, like, I'm not just making this because I'm making this, and here's why.
And sometimes too, I'm not making the right decision. Like, sometimes there's a situation where, like, I think this is the route I would go because that's how I've always done it, or that's the route I'm thinking of doing it. And, like, you two having fresh eyes coming into the company and saying, like, why are we doing it that way? Or, this is something that needs to change. And your experience with that too is, like, so valuable to us. Because, he's coming from corporate world, your policies and procedures and your management and personnel, and, like, that's so powerful, and your sales is so strong. You're a great people person. It's a huge strength of yours. And then, like, for you to come in with all this production knowledge and managing production personnel, because personnel that's, production personnel and personnel at a bank is very different. So, like, having to understand your colleagues, having to understand the people that work for you is so important, because, they're in a different part of their life. They view you as, like, their leader. And so if you're in a certain environment, like, you have to sometimes be that guy who's like, I'm just going to bootstrap it. And like, I think all three of us are pretty confident that, like, we do our best to do that. Like, if the buck stops here, I mean, the buck is stopping here. Literally. We're doing the grunt work. We're doing the labor. So I think it's so awesome that, like, to have a friend that is willing to, like, also step up to the plate and you say, this is not in my job description.
They're like, oh, girl, I'm a little bit too far.
Yeah. So, but what do you see for Arnold's Candies in the future? Like, what do you feel you want to see us to where we're going? If you had the perfect picture of Arnold's Candies, what does it look like to you?
A house in Ireland.
High stamp of approval on that one.
Love that.
Yeah. I mean, I would love that. I would love to get overseas. I want to start selling some candy overseas, because we've got really good quality candy, and it's nostalgic, it's unique, and not a lot of people make it like we can. So I would love to go into Europe. They really value tradition over there. So maybe we will get that house in Ireland.
Just move whole production.
What do you think? I'm curious, like, what's your future picture for Arnold's? Because, like, for me, a lot of even getting to where we are is because you're such a dreamer, and, like, you're a big picture guy. So, like, what do you think? What do you see for us?
No, I think it's just being every day, just taking it, being the best at what we do. I mean, I think when you have those smaller goals of like every day, just doing the best of what we do, a lot of those bigger picture goals end up,
doing the best you can.
Taking care of themselves, because like we focus on the day to day of quality. If we take one day off of like, oh, we didn't make a quality can, that day it goes out, it gets, sent back, or their customer's not happy, then they don't order. I mean, it's just got to make sure that every day that we're doing what we do the best that we can do it.
Absolutely. I think we're all super dedicated, and maybe we'll look back in 5 years and say, look at where we started.
Be like, woo-woo.
1 year in, officially like a year in for sure.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, you're 1 month away from a year in, but close enough.
Actually,
it is October 1st.
Yeah. So I think I'm like 10 days.
Yeah, that's crazy. All right. Well, thanks Okay.
You guys are interviewing a lot of other small businesses on how they got to where, or business owners, how they got to where they were. So please proceed.
How do we get to where we are?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I think it's a lot of little steps that lead up to a really big leap over time. I would love your input there, because I think for me, it was always natural. Like, I loved business. I loved marketing business. Like, I don't know a lot of marketing business, but I love to be creative, and I like to be outside the box, and like working for a candy company was like so much fun to me. It's a unique industry. It's a unique company. You're not just like owning, some random store off the street. Like, I manufacture candy. I'm Mrs. Wonka over here. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. It's a lot of fun. So like, I really loved the idea of doing it, and like I love the idea of owning a business, and it was a matter of like finding a place where like I had a good mentor, where I could learn the business and really make a difference and make myself valuable, and just having the right people have faith in me. Like, for you, it was huge that you had such faith in me to be willing to take that jump, because you didn't know anything about Arnold's. Well, you knew some, but you probably know way more now than you ever thought.
I hope so, yeah. But I think it's the same thing kind of you said, like a lot of small steps that get to the end picture. I mean, obviously we all have goals and dreams that we want to get to, but it's sometimes the hardest part is just getting those first couple steps going. And once you kind of hit those going, I'm like, okay, we're starting to move in that direction. It's just starting to figure out, okay, well, I've overcame X, Y, and Z, like all these obstacles to get here. How can I now reach that end goal? And I think it comes a lot of faith in ourselves and
each other too. You have to have a lot of trust in each other
Mm-hmm.
and God. I mean, if you do want to start doing this at a for a person, like for like a certain way of doing things, sometimes that's not always the way that it's going to go down, and you got to have the adaptability to be able to do it. Because if you were like, oh no, it has to go this way,
it's not gonna.
There's never gonna be a day that goes the way that you want that day to go. There's always gonna be something that happens.
Failure at that point.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's never the way you think it is. It's never the way you want it to be. But like, really, just going for it. It's the most important part of it, is take the risk. Like, find the opportunity and take the risk. Like, find what makes sense for you. Like, for us, like Arnold's Candies made sense, and like, you've got big dreams heading into the coaching world and doing all these things where like it's just natural to you. And I think that's really what everyone should strive for, is find what's natural for them and just
I think that's a big thing, especially
if
you're finding passions of like, okay, here's what I want to do like professionally, and then it's also going to be like, especially in entrepreneurship, it can consume you and it will consume you if you let it.
Yeah.
So you have to find that way of like, what can I do outside of this that's going to help me personally, of like, de-stress or find my passion. And sometimes it's art, other times it's building Legos. That's something that's just like
mundane
task that's like you building something great, and it's like the step-by-step process to get to that end thing of kind of the same thing that you do in entrepreneurship, step by step. But then also for me, it's coaching, and I love coaching, and that's really what I eventually want to do full time. I mean, that would be my goal. But
yeah, I would love that for you.
Can we talk about like the beginning of Arnold's? Like, because technically you guys started at 0.
Yeah.
And in a year have basically doubled what you made coming in like halfway through last year.
So We definitely have had so much growth. I mean, it's like kind of crazy. And like, there's a lot that goes into that. Like the candy industry always is like a year behind.
Yeah.
So like you're selling for Christmas in like right now is when you're preparing to think about Christmas next year. So like your buyers are asking for their samples early in the year in 2025 for Christmas 2025. So you've got to be on it. You've got to have your research done. You've got to have everything that you need. And so like you have to approach that in the mindset of like, when I'm buying this business, you know, I had a very, very good idea of what was in the works for us. And so like I saw so much opportunity for growth while I was there. I kind of was really benefited by seeing behind the curtain on like the day-to-day basis. I saw the opportunities that were there. And also, like, I saw that we were going to have some natural growth. And then just from there, you know, the outside factors, of course, and just going and selling. Like, I don't love sales. And, like, I've got one of the best salesmen as a partner. So that's a huge play in it is, you know, he shows me how to do my job better in the aspect of, like, selling Arnold's Candies because I no one knows it better than me right now. And, you know, nobody knows sales better than him, and the two of us together, it's like dream team. You know,
it's also just like, you know, I enjoy meeting new people, and like that what it comes down to is like when you enjoy meeting new people and you want to connect with people, and it's a genuine thing, but also you have a product for them that can help them, and they're like if they're looking for local grocery store. I mean, like, this is a great product for you to help you. Like, and like we said before, of like, if they win, we win. Like, I will do whatever I can for you to win, because if you're winning, I'm winning. And if my customers are losing, I'm losing. That's a personal thing of like, you got to drive it against yourself of like, how do I continue to provide for our customers and provide for our buyers and provide for our end customer, like our consumer, at the point of, okay, this is going to be the best product. And they, you know, Arnold's has been built on a brand of, you know, family owned for 71 years.
High quality,
the best quality. We know we're made in the USA. We're 100%, you know, everything that we do is handmade still. I mean, we have a few machines to help, like, you know, pull it down a conveyor line or, you know, whatever. But
purely
like
for employee benefit,
like,
really.
But like our
breaking
candy,
their backs already.
Yeah, our candy's still handmade, and it's a learned process. It's, you know, you got to be a master confectioner to do this, and it takes, like we said, time, dedication, effort, and this isn't something you just show up and get a paycheck to do. It's something that you got to learn and care about and want to do.
Absolutely. Yeah. And like, I'm so excited for what we've got going on. I'm excited for the future. I'm excited for the growth that we have right now, and like seeing where we can take that as a team. Like, some big things are coming. I think like we're going to look back and say, man, I'm so glad we took that risk. So glad.
You're like, damn, that puddle deep.
Yeah. Seriously. We really dove in, man.
Literally.
Well, thanks for joining us on All Our Problems podcast.
You're welcome. And if you're not going to plug you two as a couple and business owners, I will. For anybody who doesn't know, coming off the tail end of a very rough year for them, and then having a baby, going through all of that, buying a business, and just doing what you guys are doing. I know, I'm going to make Rachel cry.
Yeah.
Honestly, couldn't even be prouder of you two. And I'm so glad that you guys picked me to go on this journey with you. Because, like,
I was close getting through this without crying. But
like, honestly, nowhere else I'd rather be.
I'm like so glad you get to be here for it. Like, love you.
I love you.
All right. Well, that's a wrap.
Yay! And also, for any of the single ladies, there is a man coming on that sounds like Tom Hanks. So.